Bill wants power. If he wants to go in and have personnel control and hire his own staff, that's the type of thing you do for a guy who's a long-term coach. He's going to be 72. He's not going to get that. Like, I can't imagine. And if there's a team that gives it to him, God bless him. Like, good for you. I get it. Maybe Atlanta would do it because they're so desperate for attention and fans, then fine. Or Jacksonville, or, I'm just throwing them out there. But Carolina, like, take your pick. Fine. But otherwise, why would you give a 72-year-old guy that kind of power and control? You wouldn't. So the more likely scenario is a team that can win a championship. Bill's got to swallow his ego and go to a place that says, Bill, we want you as a mercenary. We don't want you to handle the personnel. We don't want you to bring in everybody. We'll give you a couple of spots, or you want to build your staff of coordinators. Certainly, we would do that for any coach. But nothing out of the ordinary.
I agree. The fact that he doesn't have a job, I feel, is on him. He's being too demanding. It has to be. I think. I don't know. Murray, what do you think?
I think it's over, and I think that's part of it, yeah, because he wants to have full control. It seems to me what's going on with the Atlanta Falcons is that the owner is all horny to hire him, but when he went and talked to Rich McKay, who's the GM, and, Terry Fontenot, that, like, his brass, they were like, well, wait a minute. That would probably mean that we're out. Like, let's pump the brakes here. Let's talk to other options. And it feels like there's a distinct lack of buzz for anyone hiring Bill Belichick at this point. So, frankly, if I have to give you an answer, I think it's over. I think he's done. This thing is ending with a thud like it did with Brady last year. We all expected this was going to, be a big thing here, and it was going to be a big ceremony, whether it was here or somewhere else, and he'll pass Shula. I think he's done. I don't think anyone's going to hire him.
Atlanta just did a second interview with Slowick, right? Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator in Houston.
And they're talking to Mike Vrabel today.
Okay, so but the second interview now with Bill takes on totally different meaning now that they're doing it with multiple people, right? Like, once you get that second interview, you start to think, okay, well, here you go. Now you're on the cusp. Like, something's happening there. But now they just did it with Slowick. So, I look at that and go, well, wait a minute. If I'm the Falcons, who would I rather have? The guy who just took C.J. Stroud to the playoffs, got 4,000 yards out of him, whatever else, and absolutely struck gold.
In his first year ever as an OC, by the way.
Right. Or Bill Belichick, who destroyed Mac Jones.
In Atlanta, I'd rather go with the younger guy because I'm building something a little more from the ground up, and I want a long run, and it's not a quick fix, put us over the top. If I'm a team like Buffalo or Dallas, or maybe the Chargers are in this category, and we can discuss if anyone else is in that category, but more of a ready-made team, I'm not taking Bobby Slowick. I'm taking Bill Belichick.
Agreed.
What's better for your quarterback? Especially, so if I'm Josh Allen, I look at him. If they bring him in and be like, wait a minute, I thought you think I suck. Like, I'm the star here. I'm the reason this team is now good, and you think, like, I'm some sort of hack and that you always had, like, the answer when you played me, when I've owned your ass in recent years. And we're going to go from a defensive-minded red ass who has blown this thing up here in the recent years with Sean McDermott to another defensive-minded red ass who hates quarterbacks, specifically me. F off. I wouldn't want to play for him if I was Josh Allen.
So, Mike, the only reason I say Atlanta is because it looked like Bill was in the driver's seat in Atlanta.
Yes, correct.
Well, now Slowick has done everything that Bill did in Atlanta in terms of the interview process. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no difference there. So I don't think he has any edge in Atlanta now. And he hasn't interviewed in Buffalo yet. But if I'm the Bills and I get rid of McDermott, yeah, Bill, absolutely. That's a much better fit. But Bill's got to look at it and say, it doesn't matter if I get personnel. It doesn't matter if I get every guy on the staff.
Right. I think it's on him. I think.
Yeah, some of it is. Yeah, I mean, the Falcons, I think, would want to hire him, but he wants to have full control, and Fontenot and the other guy, McVay.
You got to blow out all your people, Arthur, and that's the owner, Arthur Blank. You have to blow out all your people. All these guys that you trust and have relied on for decades, they're out, and it's all on me. And by the way, I get to hire everybody, and you've got to say yes to it, and I get complete control, and then I'm done in 3 years. And you're back there holding your schmenzer in your hand. So I can see that turning a lot of teams off. That's how I felt from the very beginning.
Well, this is why it feels like the Atlanta Falcons are the only team that has actually even considered that. No one else has really done that, given them 2 interviews or even brought them in, really.
Right. So on those terms, blow up your whole building, fire all the people you trust. I get to hire a whole new staff, your whole building's changing, and I hire them. And, oh, by the way, I'm the highest paid coach in the league. 5 years guaranteed. Thank you. Yeah, I can see his market being severely limited.
I mean, it's the first thing I would ask him if I were, interviewing him.
But if he comes in and says, no, you got personnel. You get to keep the people around you that you trust. I'm not going to blow up your whole building. Let me hire some people. Let me hire my coaching staff. You have personnel. You have the executive level. I've been making 25. You can pay me 20. And then I would like to think he would have a market in that regard.
He's got to give.
Would I want him, Murray? I know I've been as down on him as anybody. I do feel the game's passed him by. I've been telling you this for years and years and years. But if I were Buffalo and I haven't won ever, and I'm right there, and I know Bill's not a quarterback guy, and I know Bill didn't believe in Josh Allen for the longest time. I know. I'm Buffalo. What gets me over the edge? How do I possibly push this over the threshold over Patrick Mahomes? How do I do that? I don't know if there's any single player that would do that. I don't, it's like, I think that makes sense for a team like that. I do.
Yeah, it's sexy, it's interesting, but I just think that dynamic there with the quarterback might be broken. And so if I'm, again, Josh Allen, I would say thanks, no thanks. I think it works with the Cowboys because they're more of a mess and need more tightening of the screws, and I do think Bill can still do that. The Bills, though, I'd be interested into it. It would be a great story for us. But, again, if I'm Josh Allen, I say no. I would rather have an offensive guy or an offensive coordinator from somewhere else that comes in. Hell, maybe even Frank Reich, who people consider kind of a quarterback whisperer. I'd rather have someone like that than Bill Belichick.
I mean, to me, it's Bill. Again, it's got to be a place like Buffalo for Bill. And more importantly, he's going to have to bite the bullet here a little bit. He's got to swallow his pride.
Do you think
Absolutely.
At 72, he's going to be willing to do that, though? He might, now that he's going to be humbled here in recent weeks, where it's okay, I don't have that much interest. It seems like there's one team that's knocking on my door, and they don't really want to bend over backwards for him. He might have to, but at that age, I don't really see him doing it.
I mean, if I'm Blank or Pagula or whoever else, I am sitting with Bellichick, and the first thing I'm asking him is, how bad do you want to coach again? How badly do you want to coach?
Because you're not going to get everything you want.
Right. So if the answer is you're willing to make sacrifices to do it, and you want to coach and you want that record and you want to win a championship or you want to make the playoffs, because Atlanta could be a playoff team with half-decent quarterback play and, some discipline and all of that, then fine, we can do something, Bill. If you're looking to get the same kind of deal you had in New England, it isn't going to work. I tell him that right up front.
I just want him in the league. I want the next chapter. I want that story. And yes, the thought of Atlanta is, I find, grotesque. As grotesque as Brady going to Tampa. And it would have been much better if Brady went somewhere that mattered. I believe that to this day. However, it was still a pretty good story. And it was great to watch Brady win without Bellichick and close that chapter and close that book. And that was good stuff. That was a good story. And if Brady fell on his face, it would have been a good story. Not as good, but you get answers. What can one do without the other? How good is he? Was he just reliant on the system and Bell, or was it him? And same with Bill. Can he win without him? The whole thing we've been debating for over a decade and a half. And because again, I only say a decade and a half because we didn't debate this the first 5-10 years of the thing. It sort of came up in the second part of it as those two started to have problems and the divorce got real. So we've been debating this for over a decade. And now I want to see Bill get a crack at it. I'd love to see him go win with someone else. I think he's cashed. What if I'm wrong? No problem. I can be wrong again. I'll follow that. Or maybe I'm right and he falls on his face. Either way, the Pats are sitting there at 6-11. Can I have another story to follow on a weekly basis? Listen to his press conferences, see who he's taking a steaming piss on in wherever he's at.
That'll be fun.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that whole thing. I think we're going to need it. I think we're going to need a sidebar story with your linebacker coach taking over for the Patriots and them having, I don't think, any real idea what they're doing right now at personnel or offense or whatever. So I'd like another team to really sink my teeth into that you care about. And so that would be Belichick's team. Someone hire this guy. Bill, get off your horse and quit be so demanding and get a job and take a job and let's go and let's do this thing. For God's sakes.
I'm with you on this. I thought there would be more interest. I'm surprised it's just this one team. So he's complicit, or maybe they've done their homework. I thought that part of this was these other GMs and other teams have been only paying attention, just kind of still in love with the name, right? And maybe they've really looked at his bad drafting over the last decade, how this thing went sideways the last 4 years, how he ruined this quarterback.
Bill, you're not going to get personnel. A team would have to have their heads examined to give you full personnel control. You have to give that up. And you can't, like in Atlanta, Rich McKay. Arthur Blank has relied on Rich McKay for
Forever, really.
20 years. I don't know, forever. You're gonna so for Arthur Blank to hire you, he has to fire his most trusted employee. Like, get off of that. Don't be an a-hole. You're coming off a 4-13 year. You just ruined the last quarterback you drafted. You haven't drafted anyone of note in like a decade. What gives you the right, or what makes you think you're going to get all that sort of sway where you're going? Get off of it.
He's delusional about where he is still in terms of, appeal or attractability, or call it whatever you
A
want.
lack of self-awareness.
Yeah, he's delusional. Again, Bill thinks he invented the game. So to me, the idea, but that's the only way it's going to work, is he's going to have to give something up. If I'm an owner and he comes strolling through that door and he says, I want full power, and this is what I was making in New England, I would say, well, that's great. Why don't you go back and see if you can get it from New England? Seriously, go pound sand, pal. You're back you're not at the top rung anymore.